Hello everyone, I am Adrija. Welcome back. Today I am back with another story for you all. But this story is different from the others. Why? Because this is an original story. This story actually took place in real life. So this is a story of New York in the year 1899. When I read this story, I actually found it quite inspiring and quite valuable, and thus I wanted to share it with you all, and I'm sure you will find it quite interesting as well. So make sure to watch this entire video. There is a question at the end of the story, and make sure to answer that question in the comment box below. So let's begin with the story. As I already told you, this story took place in 1899, and it is a story about paper boys. Newsboys. Well, who are newsboys? They are the boys who sell newspapers. They buy newspapers early in the morning and sell them to different customers all day long. There were hundreds of poor children who used to sell newspapers like this, and they were around 7 to 13 years of age, all of them. Okay, so their days went something like this. Every day they woke up quite early in the morning, and in the cold of New York they bought newspapers at the wholesale price, and then all day long they used to sell those newspapers to every customer they would get. Well, they were quite poor, the profit was quite less, so they just earned enough to buy them bread to go for the rest of the day, but they did not have any luxury, so they were basically living in poverty. And on top of that, what happened is that if they would not be able to sell all of the papers, if certain papers remained unsold, then the publishers would not take it back. So that means it was completely the paper boys' loss. So that is what used to happen. They lived in poverty basically, and days went on like this. Now what happened? In the meantime, two very famous publishers, Joseph Pulitzer and William Hearst, they increased their prices of newspapers from 5 cents to 6 cents. Well, 5 cents and 6 cents might sound like not a big deal right now, but it was quite a big deal then, because it was 1899 and the value of 1 cent was quite a lot. The general public did not really criticize a lot about this, but the paper boys, their lives went downhill, because it meant that they had to buy the paper for 1 extra cent each, and moreover, if they will not be able to sell all of the papers, their loss will increase, right? So what did these paper boys do? They surrounded the office of the two wealthy companies, and they stopped buying papers from them entirely. They launched a strike. Day after day, night after night, they just sat there in front of those buildings. They did not eat anything. It was like a total hunger strike. And the government was afraid of the media companies because they were quite wealthy and very much in power. And thus the government also said nothing about this. Only there were some people who took pity in those boys, those young boys, and tried to give them food to eat and drink. But they refused it totally. In fact, they appealed to the people of the New York. They said that if the people really wanted to help these boys, then they should stop buying these newspapers at all, because only a mass movement like that will help them get the notice of those wealthy paper companies. And it actually happened. All of the New Yorkers, the civil people of New York, they stopped buying the Pulitzer and the Hearst papers entirely. And you will not believe it, by 2 weeks, their circulation dropped to more than half, like almost 70%. Now this took notice of those two wealthy companies, because they understood that if the people went against them, then they would not buy their newspapers in the future, and that would lead to severe losses. So they made a compromise with those young 7 to 13-year-old children. The compromise was something like this. They would increase the price slightly, but they will buy back the unsold papers, which meant that if all of the papers did not get sold, and then the publishers will buy back those papers from the paper boys, and thus it would decrease the loss of those boys. So what's interesting about this is that they were literally children, the paper boys. They were 7 to 13-year-olds, but these children were able to compete against the two most powerful news companies that existed at that time. Why do you think they were able to do that? It was because the citizens, the educated society of New York stood beside them. So from this story, what we gain is that even if there is something not in our power, if we all disagree with something related to the laws, related to the government, then we actually have the power, because India is a democratic country and we, united as citizens, actually have the power to stand up against it. And believe me, if we all of the educated society of India stay united regarding any issue, then no power will be able to defeat us. So this is the message of this incident. It is that we must stay united no matter what happens to fight against injustice. So this was the story. I hope you found it quite interesting. Now is the time for the question. The question is, which year did this incident take place? Make sure to answer this question in the comment box below. I'll be waiting for your answers. If you have any suggestions regarding what the next video should be, then please write it down in the comment box below. I always wait for your comments. And like this video, if you enjoyed this story, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe if you haven't yet. Meet you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.